Why is it, I wonder, that some people who call the line start off saying, I had an experience, I can't explain it, and then they suddenly pull an explanation out of their sleeve. They had an explanation all along. Why do they lie? Okay, without further ado, let's listen to Marie's call that went out on the line on the 7th of April 2024. Matt Dillahunty, Phil Ferguson. She's calling from Norway and she's got a sort of paranormal story. Let's have a listen.
Yeah.
Take your time. It's all good.
Okay. Yeah. It was like this. I am not a Christian. I am not religious. I am not.
Okay, so this is an important preamble. We're being conditioned to accept what she's going to say because she's not a Christian, she's not religious, she's not the type of person that believes in the supernatural. So she's got more credibility than those who are already accepting supernatural claims. So quite skillfully, she's actually priming us for the story that she's about to tell, and we're more likely to believe it because of what she said about herself.
What can I say? I've never been thinking so much about these questions, no? I never take a standpoint to this. So I was just living and not thinking about the one direction or the other. I'm just living, not thinking. And then,
yeah, so basically a very secular person. She's not into New Age woo. She's not into any kind of religion, not into anything supernatural, hasn't got any beliefs that way. So she's coming into this experience with no bias. Okay.
And I had,
That sounds great.
I was, yes. And then I am not there. And then I had a very strange. Some years ago, I was renting out my house, and I experienced something in the house, and some guests experienced something in this house that we cannot explain. And it's like I was preparing for doing some work.
Now bear in mind, she said something happened to her in this house that she's renting out, and we can't explain it. She has said we can't explain. She hasn't got an explanation.
I'm fixing houses, painting, carpeting, everything, like this. And I was down in the basement, not under the ground, but a little bit under the first floor. And I was just standing there preparing for some work I should do later, taking, what can I say, paint is to look what kind of color you want, and like this. And then I heard a voice out from nowhere. And well, I what should I do and what should I think? It's no neighbors there. It's a very quiet place. It's not the road. It's a pattern to the house and everything like this. And I didn't think anything more about it. It went out of my head when I was out of this room. And
okay, just stop there a moment. Yeah, so she's in the basement. She's doing some renovating work, and suddenly she hears some, kind of voice or something, and she says there are no neighbors. Well, is it a detached house, or is it attached to other houses? Maybe she thinks that there's nobody there, but maybe in reality there is somebody. For example, she says there's no neighbors, but she wasn't really clear about whether it's a detached house or whether it's attached to other houses, and she's not really too clear about that and as to why she thought that there are no neighbors. But okay, let's keep going.
Some years later, suddenly all this came back to me, and I remember these two women renting one summer weeks in my house, about in the same period. They told me they have heard also something. And after this, I have thought about this very often, and I not find any explanation. So I have written it down. It's going to be a little book. And really, I can say it's the most, what can I say? You never think you will experience something like this in your life.
Experience something like what? She's in a basement and she hears a voice. Wow. I mean, that's really mind-shattering, isn't it? That's really, I don't know, like taking a trip to the moon, something, amazing like that. Or, maybe Jesus coming and sitting next to you on your bed and giving you all the secrets of existence. I mean, oh no, but she heard voices and she never thought anything like that could ever happen. She heard a voice. Well, I hear voices every day.
And I thought after this, I thought, have we got a soul after this? Because really, we were three people. They heard this step. I heard step one time and the voice another time, not so long.
Oh, this is crazy. This is crazy. I've lived in, various properties, flats, houses, etc. And I remember one property that I lived in, and I could hear steps as well coming from next door. And I could hear voices as well. I know she's saying there's no neighbors, but somehow to me, that is the most likely explanation out of this. That despite her saying that there are no neighbors, I think it's far more likely that there are neighbors, and either she doesn't know about them, or she's just left that out of this story. You can hear footsteps next door, people going up the stairs, and you can hear voices as well. You can hear it every day of the week, depending on where you live.
Fine, but I heard it. And we were three people and experienced, yeah. Huh?
You're saying you heard step? So you heard like footsteps?
Yeah. And the thing
is, yeah, that's funny that when she first told the story, she didn't say anything about steps. All she said was that she heard a voice. She didn't mention the steps. She only mentioned the steps later, when apparently she went several years, forgot about the whole thing. And then when another tenant came in and said, "Oh, I heard a voice and I heard steps," suddenly she's saying, "Oh yeah, I heard steps too."
Is that this woman? I forgot it all because I'm a worker. I was fixing house.
I don't understand that. So I don't understand how someone can be working, hear voices, and then forget about it for years.
No, I don't understand myself because you see,
it's a sort of you tell me moment. No, I can't explain it. It must be a god because, we can't explain it.
It's like this. I was down there in the basement and it was this voice from a man for 10, 15 seconds. But I had a lot to do.
What did the voice say?
No, when it came back to me in 2014, I remember very clearly it came back to me this voice, this step.
So you heard a voice and you forgot about it for years, and then in 2014 you remember exactly.
Yeah, it's like I saw Jesus in my dream and he spoke to me. What did he say? I can't remember. Oh yeah.
What it says? Are you kidding?
No. As I said, it was like the voice was not from inside and not from outside. It was very clear, but I couldn't recognize a word. When I was there, I couldn't say what it says, and afterwards I couldn't say. But it was very clear, and it was from an old man, about past 70, not very old, about 70 years old, I thought. And I talked to the neighbor.
No. Hang on.
Yeah.
You heard a voice that you could identify as a 70-year-old man or older. It was very clear, but you don't know what it said.
No. Impossible.
Okay.
Yeah. I was a little bit
how did you know? How did you know it's a 70-year-old man if you don't know what it said?
No, but you hear from the voice of a person about how old this is, okay? Let's say he was 65, 70, 75. Not very old, but absolutely more than... I have my cohabitant, he's 67. You care to what...
I can sound like I'm a little baby. I can sound like I'm a teenager. I can sound like a middle-aged adult. I can sound like I'm 90.
Okay, well, I accept a point that, if you take older people, say 70, 80-year-old people, and you get them each to record, say, a sentence, and you get, say, a lot of 20-year-old people to record the same sentence, and you put them all together, you would probably be right about 90% of the time. I absolutely accept her point on that, and I don't really see why Matt is objecting to her point about that. The thing that I find odd is that she said she heard it clearly, and yet she can't remember any of the words. She can't make out any of the words. That doesn't make any sense.
No, but it's not like that.
All of those
was
are
just
all of those are things that I can do. So all you can say is you heard something, an older gentleman.
No, it was a very clear voice, and I could say he was not 20.
If it was very clear, how is it possible that you don't know what it said?
You know what? I thought either we have a soul or it was another dimension.
That is not even in the ballpark of an answer to the question that I just asked you. I didn't ask you whether or not we have a soul or what you thought about. I said, how can you say that the voice was very clear, but you do not know what the voice said?
You know, now you have to listen very carefully here. If it was another dimension, then it have to
Marie,
be some...
I didn't ask about another dimension. I didn't ask at all for you to speculate. I'm asking a very specific question.
I do actually think it would be very difficult to place the age of somebody from the sound of their voice, unless it was clear and unless it was sufficiently clear that you could actually make out the words. So in that sense, her story doesn't really ring true.
How can you say that the voice was very clear and yet you do not know what it said? How is that possible?
Was it a different language? Different language, maybe.
No, it was Norwegian. But you know, how can
It was Norwegian, and yet so it was clear enough that she could tell it was Norwegian, but she cannot make out a single word. She can't remember, or she couldn't actually make out. It wasn't decipherable. The single word was not decipherable. That's strange.
I answer this question? Because if it was a soul or another dimension, how can I answer this question?
No, you don't get to...
I mean, if she couldn't make out a single word, how does she know that the language is Norwegian? Yeah, that's my point.
Go on to speculate it's a soul. I think I now have the answer to my question, because I've asked you the same question 3 fucking times and you have come nowhere near answering it. So I'm speaking very clearly and you clearly have no comprehension of what it is that I'm saying. So now I understand how you could hear a voice clearly and have no clue what it said, because that's literally what you're doing right here with me.
So all I listen to the other man calling it.
No, we're done.
It's not so interesting.
We're done,
for me
Marie.
Because
no, we're done, Marie.
Okay,
you don't get to just say okay and then keep on talking. Goodbye.
Yeah, okay, then she obviously, the call ended. But, okay, I mean, imagine if she hadn't said she heard it clearly. She could have just said that, she heard it. She heard this voice. It sounded like an old man. It sounded kind of Norwegian, maybe from the inflections in the, pronunciation or just the general sound of it sounded. I mean, it's like if I heard broad Scots accent, even if I couldn't understand any of the words, I could say, oh yeah, that's probably Scottish. Yeah, I kind of understand what she means there. They got hung up on this word clearly. She shouldn't have said that. Obviously, she is a Norwegian native speaker, so we could make some allowance there. But the story doesn't really, the story doesn't impress me, because I think that the most likely explanation is that the voice that she could hear, and indeed that her tenant several years later heard, was probably just another person who happened to be nearby, probably in an adjoining property or upstairs or something like that. I don't believe that there were absolutely no neighbors, and I don't believe probably that the house is detached. I think it's probably like in a block or something like that. And she's just not told the whole story. That's the most likely explanation, but it's not my job to supply an explanation. She said she had no explanation, and then she suddenly went to the soul and other dimensions. She's got an explanation, so she lied about that. But she can't possibly conclude it's either of those on the basis of what she experienced and indeed what she claims her tenant experienced. Okay, enough of this nonsense. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.